What keyword ranking strategies are you currently using? The entire goal for ranking is how many orders can we possibly get through that one specific search term. Now, I know there's a lot of talk in our space around like, oh, target like long tail search variations of the keyword and all that stuff. That does help. It's not going to have the most impact. So the most impact for any ranking keyword is going to be getting orders specifically through that search, getting a lot of orders. So we don't just want one, we want a lot. And also making sure that our click-through rate and our conversion rate are really high on those key terms. So I'll be honest with you, the biggest impact on ranking you can have is really by picking the right keywords. So if your question was, how do I figure out what keywords do I rank on? I would say like look for things that you can afford to spend a lot, i.e. you're not losing money, meaning ACoS isn't like so crazy high that you can't afford it. You want to look for things that you have really good conversion rates. Bonus points if you have good click-through rates here, but I would go for conversion rates over click-through rates. And then you just want to like put money towards that. Now, if you say, how do I rank on this specific keyword, then that question is a little bit different. And I'm just going to tell you like push volume. Now, what I recognize is that me saying, hey, push volume through a one specific search might mean that that's not super profitable. So that's where I'm saying like the real trick is going to lie in the actual targets that you select to rank on. Other things, some pro tips and some pro hacks are more advanced but can be helpful here, is if you have a specific search where it's like crazy expensive and you just don't really have the budget for it. Again, that goes back to keyword selection. Make sure you're selecting keywords where you can afford to spend that budget on it. But if we're on a specific keyword, you want to make sure that you're showing high enough in search that you can really get those good conversions and get those eyeballs on the product. But maybe you can't afford a ton of clicks because there's a lot of clicks and they're really expensive. And use the budget as sort of a lever to cap or meter how much money you are spending for that ranking play. Now, how effective that is going to be how many orders your market is making, and that's relative. So when I talk about trying to get a large amount of orders, it's relative to the other competition that is on that particular search page. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Ask Junglr. I'm super excited. This is the time and the place for you to get answers to your Amazon ad questions so you can grow your account without having to sacrifice profits to get there. Obviously, Amazon in some ways has become a little bit of a pay to play, but that being said, that doesn't mean that you can't still grow accounts through advertising profitably. That is what we focus on as an agency. So hey, if this is your first time joining in, my name is Elizabeth Greene, co-founder and CEO of Junglr, Amazon ads agency, and that is what we focus on, is growing, running what we call like business centric ads, meaning advertising that is going to serve the business and not just serve to increase ad budgets. So with that, if this is your first time joining in, the format of this is drop whatever Amazon ad questions you have into the chat. I pull them up. We screen share, I share resources, I put out a bunch of different content. Like I had someone reach out to me the other day about like AMC, and I'm like, oh, hey, I got 2 video podcasts that I've put out on that topic here. Let me give you those resources, right? So the goal of this show is for, instead of you having to dig through 20 different YouTube videos, a whole bunch of different webinars, I'm not saying there's not value in that, but in those formats, it's a little bit hard to get to like the specific answer to your specific question. And so that's what we do here every single week. We pull up and help you get clarity and get answers as quickly as possible so you can get back to growing your accounts and running more effective advertising. So if you've got a question, make sure you drop it into the chat. I'm not quite sure how many people are here, seeing as Accelerate's going on right now, which means there's a lot of big announcements and things that are coming out. So one major one that just got announced, I'm not sure if everyone is aware of it, but Amazon made an announcement of their Prime Days. So Prime Days, which is their October, so fall Prime Day, is going to be the 7th through the 8th this year. That was announced, I think, a couple of days ago. One interesting thing. So fall Prime Day is going to be 2 days instead of, they tested 4 days in this last Prime Day. That was a little bit interesting, to be honest. The first 2 days were bust, and the last couple of days were a little bit lackluster. Still a little bit above averages, but they weren't as big. So we're going back to 2 days for fall Prime Day, which I'm really glad they made that adjustment. However, one really interesting thing is that in Canada, they're keeping 4 days of fall Prime Day, which is interesting. We have a couple brands we're running in the Canadian marketplace. So a little bit of a shakeups there, which is really interesting. Typically what they do is Amazon is pretty good about like adjusting their kind of adjusting based on data. So a lot of times it seems like they are doing things kind of out of the box, and they will switch things up. But there always is a reason behind it. They're a big enough company. They have strategy. They're not doing anything random. I do see some questions coming in the chat. I'm definitely going to make sure that I pull those up and we give the answers. But there's one other really cool thing that came out of Accelerate. So a lot of announcements happening. Now, one of those was actually the announcement that AMC is going to be added to everyone's ad console. So originally AMC was only available for sellers who were running DSP. You could only get access to the platform that way. And then they rolled it out and they say, okay, everyone's going to get access to AMC. But then what they did is they had them go through partners. So we are part of the advertising partner network. So we were able to get access, and we have all of our brands on AMC, and we've had all of them on minimum since the beginning of the year. I think a little bit more than that. So we've been leveraging AMC for a while now, but they just announced that you no longer have to go through a partner to get access to AMC, which is amazing. Prior to that, you were able to get access to AMC for a brand, but you had to meet certain spend thresholds. As of right now, there are no spend thresholds. Now, there has been some teasing that maybe they might start charging for that access later on. I'm not really sure. We will see, but look for us to put out even more content around AMC, because one of the things that is fantastic in that data set is, one, obviously the targeting and the ability to be more segmented with targeting and run AMC audiences and your sponsored product ads and sponsored brand ads. But even more than that is, I think, the analytics. So one major thing that we're diving into with the AMC analytics is cost per acquisition or new to brand. So looking at things like LTV of a shopper, and then also saying, like, what is the cost to acquire new shoppers? There's some really interesting insights that you could pull out of AMC, and really some data sets that just aren't available anywhere else. Which is amazing and fantastic. And one last thing I want to share, which, again, if you have an Amazon ad question, drop it in the chat. I'll pull it up and I will get you answers. I would recommend pulling up or dropping whatever questions you have a little bit sooner rather than later, because what I find is typically towards the end, a lot of questions come in, and I like to make sure that I can give everyone answers as much as possible. However, that being said, one really amazing thing that came out of Accelerate was this Amazon Creative Studio. So I don't know if any of you all have tested the AI generated videos that are inside of Ad Console. This is actually a better, more upgraded version of that. Honestly, so again, AI creatives, I think, are really going to change the game when it comes to being able to create video assets. And there's a lot of really amazing things that Amazon is rolling out with their video, meaning you can now put inside of your A+ content. There's now the ability, my really good friend John Aspinall, he's a lot into Click-There. He does a lot with creatives. He's also with Trellis now, so he's looking at creatives with advertising as well. But one of the things that he was showing me is instead of the brand module, honestly, it got better, and you can now create like a shoppable carousel for your other products in your brand, which is amazing. And video is part of that, which is really, really freaking cool. So Amazon's trying to make it easier and easier for you guys to create these assets. Let me drop this link into the chat, because if you have an ad account, you can log in with your Amazon ad account and actually get access to this today and play around with it. So I definitely would recommend you do that. It's aistudio.amazon.com is a link, and I've just dropped it into the chat. So if anybody wants to get a hold of that, you definitely can. If you're watching in and on LinkedIn, you might have to reach out to me for the link if you want it, although there are some posts going around on that platform. But it gives you the ability to, again, create video assets at scale, completely free, and it's unlimited asset generation, which is amazing, because with a lot of like image generation softwares, you have tokens, and you're somewhat limited on those platforms. Here, capabilities are virtually unlimited, which is insane and amazing. Highly recommend checking that out and getting a hold of that tool. But without further ado, I will definitely be hopping in. Fazal saying, thanks for the pro tip, focus on conversion rate over click-through rate. So true. Yes. So when you're looking at ranking, that's referring to kind of our opening intro where I talk about ranking. Definitely recommend. So it's not like click-through rate is not important. It's just conversions are more important, because what you need to do for ranking is look at order velocity. And if you have really good click-through rate but poor conversion rate, you're just not going to get that order velocity. Ashley saying, I was just coming to ask about AMC. Yes. Now that it's rolled out to anyone, do you have any resources to understand how to use it? So I don't have any official resources as of right now. I am actively building those. So in our agency, the way that we've been doing it is our account managers, and we also have team members with extensive DSP experience, which involves AMC. And so we also have a developer on staff who is the one helping us write a lot of the queries. Now, the way Amazon is rolling out AMC, you don't necessarily, it used to be that you had to know how to write SQL. SQL is the programmer language that allows you to query databases. Query just means like create reports, basically. So AMC is essentially a really extensive database. And that database contains anonymized consumer behavior and basically a whole bunch of data on how consumers are interacting with your specific brand, which is insane and amazing. However, in terms of like a lot of the assets that I put out is, I've put out things on our launch strategy. I have a whole deck that I'm working on now of like our Q4 and seasonal strategy, which is a really big upgrade, one that we worked on. I think we discovered that in 2020. I want to say discovered. We developed 2023, we rolled out in 2024, and we're continuing it in 2025. That actually, the one strategy allowed us to like 4x profitability for a brand, which is like insane. So I have a lot of like assets and trainings that I put out. What I'm actively doing right now is fact finding and gathering from my team, because they're the ones with the skill set and real like in-depth knowledge. A lot of the content I put out is like, hey, click here, do this. Here's some specifics. I'm going to be putting out a lot of content like that around AMC, especially. I'd already planned on doing that, but because AMC is like getting released to everybody, I'm going to like make that. So anyways, if by the way, if you're listening in and like that would be helpful, give a like, give a thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know how valuable it would be to have AMC resources available, because a lot of the information out there right now is not, it's helpful, but it's not like click here, do this. And that's going to be my goal when it comes to AMC. Now, a couple resources that I have put out that are podcast style, so I was talking about it, but I do think that would be helpful. So if you go to our, actually, I can drop this in the chat because has the search query in it. Again, if you need the link to this, if it's not popping up in the chat wherever you're listening in, let me know. But if you go to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@Junglr, and you search AMC, you'll see these two videos pop up. So one was with my good friend Neha. She's from Adam 11. They do a lot with AMC. So it's talking about that's a really good like basic and intro on like what is AMC and then how some specific ways to use it in your advertising. And then here, how to master AMC sponsored ads like a pro. My good friend again, Michael Erickson Fashine from Ad Badger. I want you guys can't even see that. Okay, there we go. He was kind enough to again do a podcast with me on like some more tactical reasons, but that's a lot. Like that's not even in the analytics and the reports that can be developed and like how to actually go about building the audiences. And so that's kind of the tactical stuff that I'm going to be putting out. So again, if anyone has any questions on that or if that would be helpful, feel free to give this a thumbs up and a like. Cool. Moving on, Ashley has another question. Does the PPC audit tool you showed work for ads running in multiple marketplaces? It should. It should. However, what I have found is that sometimes, I believe it's specifically in the UK marketplace, I've noticed an issue with the when you download the bulk file, it has the symbol that it uses for the symbol that is used for the currency is not the same one that most it's not like recognized by the spreadsheet software. And so what I've found to do there is you just do a find and replace. It's pretty simple. So that I think would be the only one is if the currency symbol is not exactly correct for that marketplace. But the easiest thing to do is just to go into the column. You would want to exactly copy and paste the symbol, and then you highlight the entire column. If you're in Google Sheets, I think it's like I think it's Control H. Or you could just find out like where find and replace is, and you just find that symbol and you replace it with nothing, and it'll clear out all of those symbols. And then you can change the currency to whatever the currency is in the spreadsheet, and you should be good to go. But that should be, I believe, the only one. Which, by the way, if anyone wants, I told you guys I have a lot of stuff that I put out. What is it? I think it's like, yeah, here we go. 360 audits tool. So if anyone is wondering what Ashley is talking about, we do a crap ton of audits, a lot. And there is a tool that I developed that we actually use when auditing accounts. And we actually do more than what is even in this tool. But this is a fan-freaking-tastic tool if you want to do your own audit. So if you want to find every mistake in your ad account, or if you just want to know what am I missing, what am I not doing well, you can actually go to this link. I'll drop it in the chat again. If you're on a platform where it doesn't allow me to drop the link into chat, like let me know. Reach out to me on socials and I will get it to you. Or actually another really good way to contact us is if you go to our website, and I don't think you could see this here. Let me get rid of this banner. On this little, where am I? Cool. On this little chat box here, if I ever mention anything that you're like, hey, you had that resource, you mentioned putting this thing out, hey, can I get access to it? If you can't find me on socials or for some reason, like you can't message me, feel free to use a chat box on our website. I've been telling people that, and like that actually has worked really well. So if you also want access to this audit tool, again, if you can't find it in the link, let me know. This literally like tells you everything. And also, fun fact, if you've been running sponsored display VCPM campaigns and you haven't gone through and audited what the cost per click sales attribution is, or what the click-through sales attribution is for that one, you're probably wasting a lot of money. I literally used like this specific process to analyze a brand. They were spending like 20 grand on their VCPM campaigns. Inside of Ad Console, it said that it was like, I don't know, it told them they had like a 20 or a 15% ACoS. When we audited it using this tool, we found out that the true ACoS was like 400%. It's like insane the differences. And there's also a video here on that link that not only goes through exactly step-by-step how to set up the tool, which the tool actually has instructions in it, but it also will go through, like I go through like, how do I look at, like, how do I diagnose ads using this tool? So I think it's probably pretty useful if you are running ads or you just want to see kind of, you know, hey, what am I missing out on? What are we not doing? Ashley's wondering, I'm searching for new keywords to test. Conversion rate and ACoS is not great as the product or position is premium and more expensive. Spend is too high in phrase, bottle, etc. Low bids limit impressions. Thoughts on how to find targets without using these? I've been considering Cerebro or Search Query Performance Support to see what we already have some ranking on, but for theirs, there's a lot, and I don't want to waste budget. That's a really good question. And so I would say there's a couple things that you want to look at. One, if the conversion rate is lower, you're probably not going to want to go after the highest search volume keywords. What we've seen in our experience is that lower conversion rates going after like things with just a lot of volume tend to lead to a lot of waste and high ACoS, and also cost per clicks tend to be higher. So I would actually recommend in this case Search Query Performance Reports, because there you can actually see your specific conversion rates versus the conversion rates of the averages in your category. How you would want to do that is you would just select the specific ASIN, and then you're going to have to calculate these fields, but you can take the, let's see, conversion rate is orders divided by clicks. See, and in the Search Query Performance Report, it's called purchases. So it's easier if you download the report. So you download the report and you say, okay, total purchases for that search query divided by total clicks on that search query, and that's going to give you the average conversion rate for that search. And then what you want to do is you want to take, it'll say brand purchases and brand clicks, then you would do that. So then that's your conversion rate on that. Honestly, maybe I should make thinking right now of tools I could create. I could create a custom GPT where you just upload your data sets and it does all the calculations for you, if that would be helpful. By the way, thumbs up, chat in the comment if that would be useful to you guys, because I could totally do that. But anyways, you would just want to run that analysis. The other thing that is actually really useful to look at as well is inside Search Query Performance Reports. There is also a column. You might have to, I don't remember if it's like customized columns. There's some column in there where it'll tell you the average purchase price of the products that are purchased through that specific search query, which can also be very helpful because it will let you know where shoppers who on average purchase higher priced items. Can be really useful. So I would use Search Query Perform. Not that Helium 10 is not valuable. It's just Search Query Performance Report is going to show you even more data set. And then actually the one tool that we've been using, we're starting to roll it out even more in our agency, and the team is finding so much value in it, is Data Dive, actually. So we are, again, Helium 10 is an OG. The one thing that I really love about Data Dive is when you're doing the research, you also are able to not only compare like how many how many of your top competitors are ranked on those keywords, but it also gives you a really, really solid market analysis as well, which can be really helpful because when you're dealing with higher priced items or lower conversion rates, then it's a lot easier to do that. Nick has a great question. For your AMC data analysis, do you have an in-house dashboard to organize or display, or are you using a third party? So we are currently using a third party, and then what we do is we are generating our own reports, and then we are actively working on a tool. I'm going to see if I can share this with you. But we have been working on, maybe I can, wonder if I can hide this data. But we are actively working on like some internal things because our goal is to use AMC to calculate customer, like true customer acquisition costs, and then LTV, and then look at LTV to customer acquisition cost ratios to determine like, are we overpaying for our specific products. However, dashboards are really useful here, and so we use KPOQ, which is spelled KAPOQ. It's a software tool that we have been using over 2 years now, I believe. And I really, really like their analytics, and they have integrated AMC into their tool. And because we already had access to an AMC instance, it was really easy for us to connect it. So we've connected it for all our brands. The one thing that we are able to, or the things that are really valuable to look at in there is what's called path to conversion. So I think, yeah, I can share this data here with you. So when looking at this path to conversion, like this is really valuable to look at because this tells us that the path, like, so for this specific brand, when they view our sponsored products and then also view our sponsored brand ad, we actually have more impressions, and then our ad sales are greater. And you can actually look at the user purchase rate, which is a lot higher when you factor in like us seeing a sponsored product and sponsored brand ad, which tells us, hey, we should probably run more sponsored brand ad, because I haven't seen this in all accounts. To be honest, a lot of our accounts, we are seeing higher conversions when it's only sponsored product ads. But again, visuals like this are great because reports, it's like reading a search term report, right? You can kind of get some insights from it, but it's a little bit scattered. But when you see it in just a clear graph like this, it's like, okay, so our user purchase rate is actually less when we have just sponsored product ads. Although a new to brand percentage, like we're seeing way more new to brand when we do a sponsored brand to sponsored products, which again, super interesting. Let's see if I can show you other graphs that we're doing. Oh, this one is actually really, really fantastic. And I don't know if I could share this with you. I'm trying to see if there's a way for me to like hide this one. All right, so I can hide that. So this one is a graph that tells us of it tells us the time to conversion. So that's one thing, is like there's a 7-day look back window in sponsored product ads. But what I want to know is this like do people think about it, or do they immediately purchase from us? So a time graph shows you, like here I can see like, hey, most shoppers, when they interact with our products, I have like they convert within the first 10 minutes. And then you have like a longer look back window. Like the next highest one is like an instant purchase. So this is a pretty instant purchase product. But if you had like a higher priced item, then you would probably see, oh, there's a longer look back window. So most likely what you're going to want to do is, hey, let's run retargeting ads, because we know, we have people who are purchasing past 7 days, and we want to make sure that we reinteract with them. So what it's doing is it's really allowing you to get way more sophisticated with your ad strategy. So yes, we are using a third party and then also internal tech, but we've done that for a while. We pretty much do that across many things. All right, cool. If a ranking campaign and a supplement niche aren't working, for example, Sponsored Product Exact isn't delivering, but Sponsor Brand's video is performing really well, what would you do in this situation? Would you keep relying on Sponsor Brand's video, or how would you approach sponsored products to make that work? For ranks, as we know, we can't rely on Sponsor Brand's video for long term. What am I missing? Good question. So I would say, one, I would be curious to know in your sponsored brands video campaigns, what are they targeting? I would want to go and I would look at the search term reports for that, because the way that sponsored brand ads have changed, it could be possible that you're targeting, even though it might be in an exact match, it might be targeting a different search term. And so I would want to know that, just to see, is that something that I can test carrying over to sponsored product ads? What I would say is that we have started to see some impact of sponsored brands video ads on page ranking. Not all the time, but it does happen. And so I would say for now, double down on what's working. Look at the search terms that are performing there to see, like, is there something I missed? Should I bring that over? And then the other thing that I would do is I would start broader testing with exact match. Sometimes, especially in supplements, because it's really competitive and supplements reviews are like really, 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 really important. So you want to make sure that you're targeting searches you can win on. So oftentimes the highest search volume, even if they're super specific, there's something else that we should be focused on. So I would kind of go back to the drawing board on my exact match targeting and say, hey, where do I think I missed? The other thing that I would pay attention to is there something that you have demonstrated in the video? So is there a solution that you call out? Is there a visual that you use? Like, is there something in the video that I'm calling out that I don't call out well in my listing? And I can't tell you how many times I've seen this where like a video will call out a very specific, maybe it's the number of pills in the container. It could be that there's like an additional element, and like those things are called out in the bullet points. But if it's not called out in the image stack, and primarily the first 3 images are the most freaking important, and here you're going to hear me start plugging Data Dive a lot because I am a true believer now. But if you are using Data Dive, I would look at that and I would run a dive. And then what you want to look at in Data Dive now has a really fantastic visual that compares your image stack to all of the competitors that you're trying to go up against in your top competition. And that will immediately show you like, hey, we're falling behind. So again, I would double down on what's working on sponsor brand video. I would analyze the search volume. I would see if there's something not search volume, search terms. I would see, is there something I've missed? Is there a specific search term that's converting that on sponsored brands video that I'm not testing an exact match? I would go back to the drawing board with the exact match, do additional keyword research. Again, plugging Data Dive here for keyword research. And then I would also recommend looking at the video and the benefits and features called out and make sure that those are reflected in the image stack, because that might be something to look at. Yeah, so another Emma is asking, do sponsor brands contribute to organic ranking? So originally I said no. There was a longest time where I'm like, I do not see a correlation. I don't think it works. I will say this, sponsored brands is so underserved at Amazon. You would not even believe how many brands I have audited that are not doing sponsor brands either well or at all. It's like abysmal. Even some of the largest brands that I've audited that have like amazing, like they have budgets, they have teams, they have full-blown media teams, they have like shoots, and like nobody knows what the heck to do with sponsor brands video. It honestly, it would be funny if it wasn't so sad. So I would say sponsored brands, yes, there is some correlation with ranking. We've noticed that it's more so a correlation when you're doing a sponsor brands video directly to product pages. But the other thing that I would say is there are advantages to sponsored brands. There are advantages. So if you look at, again, if I'm pulling up um this chart right here, like here you can see we have better conversions when we do a sponsored product ad and a sponsor brands video. Or if you are driving directly to a product or to a product grouping on a sponsored, I can't get the things right, to a specific sub page, that allows you to curate a specific shopper experience and to group products. And so in that case, what I would say is like there is a very strategic advantage to sponsored brand ads that is you don't have in sponsored product ads. And what I have found is that there's so many brands who don't recognize it or don't know how to use it. And that's why most everybody's not using it. So does it have impact on ranking? Yes. Are there like massive advantages to sponsor brand ads besides with like just the immediate like ranking? Like heck yes. And not many people are, very, very, very few are doing it well. How do you approach selling on tacos while ensuring the brand becomes profitable? Great question. I'm going to show you a resource because I love doing screen shares here. Shoot, where did I put it? It's basically you need to make sure that you're focused on ranking. And so let me pull up this. This is what we call the growth equation. So this is a way that you can grow brands while still maintaining grow brands while still maintaining profitability. It's all about this balance. So these are the two things that you want to balance. And most people just focus in on ACoS. I'll tell you right now, if you're focusing in only on ACoS, you're probably not going to be fixing your tacos. And I'll tell you why. So ACoS is simply a function of your conversion rates, your cost per clicks, and what the product price is. And when we're talking advertising, basically the one thing you can control is your cost per clicks. But if you control that too tightly, then you're going to lose all impressions. So we have this ACoS forecasting model. So these, again, these are the inputs here. So your average CPC, your average conversion rate. And so you can see here that this product price is, $25. We have an average conversion rate of 16%. Let's say we have $1 here, right? So that puts us at an ACoS of 25%, which is great. But what happens if the average CP, like I can't get any impressions and I have to go to $2? That gives me a 50% ACoS. So there's only a couple things that I can do. If I needed to lower it to say 35%, that means I got to lower my average CPCs by 60 cents, which is pretty significant drop, right? Or I got to have about a 6% increase on my conversion rate, which is even harder. Now you can increase conversion rates. This is strictly advertising, obviously by fixing the product. But if we're just talking ad strategy, you want to make sure that you're targeting high conversion keywords. So most of your budget should be going to things that are converting really high. So I either adjust my bids or I make sure my targeting's on point. And again, because there's it's a marketplace, there's only so much wiggle room you have in those. So what's an ad manager to do? Well, let's go to our ACoS forecasting model. And let's say our ACoS is 50%, right? Well, if I have 80% of my total sales coming from advertising, that means that my total ACoS is going to be 40%, right? Which is completely unsustainable. So probably to be sustainable, I'm going to want to target, if we're all the way at 40, I'm going to say, hey, let's just get to 20, right? And we need to get lower than 20, but at least we need to get to 20. Well, to get to 20, you need an ad sale percentage of 40%, which means that 60% of your total sales need to be coming from organic, right? So your goal as an advertiser is to say, okay, if my total ACoS target is 20, and let's say that we run our forecast model, we're like, okay, I think we can get a little bit higher conversion rate. Let's say we can bump that up a point. And if I can lower my CPCs to 180, okay, that gives me so more wiggle room. So then I can go back to my forecasting model and say, okay, you know, if I lower my ACoS to this and I maintain 40, oops, let me fix that, then I can get to a 16.9. So really that's the thing you're wanting to balance. And that's why hyper focusing in on ACoS will most of the time steer you wrong and actually make the account less profitable. Because one of the things that I've seen so many freaking times is like a brand goes, okay, I need to get ACoS down to 40. Well, what happens when you lose organic market share? Because you're not being as aggressive, you're not showing top of search, you're losing out sales momentum, and all of a sudden you got this opposite. So only 40% of your total sales are coming from advertising. You're like, what gives? I lowered my ACoS by like 5 points and my total ACoS went up like a lot. I'm now at 24%. I'm worse off profitability than I was. So that's the balance that you're playing as an ad manager, is you're focusing in on making sure that you have at least a subsection of your account that is focused on the organic ranking. And then you also make sure that you're controlling the CPC so things don't run away. And if you strike that balance, that is how you grow an account and keep it profitable. Easier said than done, but doable. All right, referring supplement space. Getting orders while exact match bid is much below the suggested bid, but ACoS is way high. Reducing the bid will risk impressions. Increasing will consume faster help. I would say use budget optimizations here. Let me give you a video. I did a really great video with Adam from Better Media. I'm gonna have to find it. We talked about using budgets to be a cap or a meter on ranking. So this is basically a way, and especially in supplements where the cost per clicks are so high. I know, I get it. There's a heck of a ton of talk in the Amazon advertising community that says you should never run out of budget. I'm here to tell you that is wrong. If done strategically. Now, if you're not paying attention to it, it could blow up in your face. But if you are doing it strategically, so it's this video right there, basically how to afford top of search. So this is with Adam from Better Media. I'm going to grab this link. I'm going to drop it in the comments. If anyone else wants this link and you didn't get in the comments, feel free to reach out to me. But I would highly recommend watching that because that's going to go way more in depth on the budget strategy. But I would say in this case, I would definitely recommend doing that. All right. Ashley is saying the custom GPT for SQP would be so helpful. Noted. I will put it on my list. I will put that one on my list. So look forward to me sharing that recently. If ranking campaigns a supplement niche isn't work, oh, we already went over this. All right. Thanks, Elizabeth, for translating the AMC data, useful information, possibly the most valuable part of AMC. We also use KPOC in testing, another one that offers more custom config. Yeah, KPOC at the moment doesn't allow for custom configuration. And again, that's fine because we have the internal capabilities to be able to do that. But it is a pretty nice out-of-the-box solution I have found. And they also have integrations with search query performance support, which you haven't turned that on. I would highly recommend because they're actively developing that, and we've given them some feedback on maybe how to develop that. So that's been helpful. Could you please elaborate on Profit Analytics recently launched feature by Amazon? Yeah, right now I haven't dug into that one as extensive. Actually, you know what? I have a talk about resources. I have a pricing SOP, which I am not the foremost expert on pricing. I'm not. But I do have some really good friends over at AZ Seller Kit who have a pricing tool, which they actually went through with us, and let me share this, which again, I don't have a give me an email anything for this. So if anybody wants this, like, let me know, reach out to me on our website, use the chat box. Like, if you want this, I would say use this nice little chat box here. Reach out to me, let me know. You say like, hey, I want the pricing SOP. So this is actually developed by my good friends at AZ Seller Kit. There's a link to them here. I need to probably highlight this. So there's a link to them here. And then they also, we also put together a podcast as well that goes over all of this. And Adam was gracious enough to give it. Anyways, this is like literally an entire SOP. He wrote their repricing algorithm. So he has some specific recommendations on raising and lowering, but I only pulled this up because you were asking about a P&L. So we actually have a really amazing new hire, not new, he's been with us for a while now. His name is Xavier. And so he was able to put together like a P&L for our brands. We actually give this to our brands when they're asking about pricing. We're like, hey, here, like, look at this. And so really when you're calculating in your repricing, now I don't know exactly what Amazon factors in. I haven't looked into that yet. However, you want to make sure that all fees are factored in, including some of the other ones which people don't think about, which is promotions and also refunds. So I would have to look at Amazon's tool, but if you are calculating your profitability, you want to factor in like everything. Obviously, you want to factor in your landed costs, your FBA fees, your referral fees, your storage fees. Those are pretty standard. We also put into place to like put your average total A cost for the product. So that kind of gives you like what your budgets are per sale. And then we also recommend factoring in pricing and refunds to it, which will also give you, and then when you've put in your price, it'll give you what your net proceeds and then your margins and your margin percentages. And then here, actually, you can select. So here, if we said like, hey, we want to lower this by 10%, then that's going to tell me, oh, wait, my margins went negative. Okay, that's not really good. So this will actually take a look at your P&L and allow you to calculate like your new margins based on the differences. And so you could just input that here, which again, if anybody wants us, let me know. Happy to give somebody a link to that. Again, we have a lot of resources we're putting out for our brands. So if anyone wants it, I'm more than happy to share. What's your take on broad and auto campaigns, more relevant terms of lower A costs than phrase or exact targeting? Yes, this is true, and this happens. And I would say that is one of the main reasons why I say if you are, quote, moving, or if you find a search term that's performing well in a broad or an auto campaign or any other targeting, if you move that to say an exact match or phrase match to test, I would not ever negate that in the original campaign, because you will oftentimes get lower cost per clicks. Now, one of the downsides to keeping a major keyword in like an auto or a broad match or targeting it specifically through it is those are not really good match types or targeting types to try and push ranking on. And here's the reason why. When you are pushing an exact match target, you are only specifically targeting that search page. Excuse me, my nose is running. And if, say, I have a bid of 50 cents and I increase that bid, I double it. Say I go to $1, right? I know that I'm saying, hey, Amazon, I am willing to spend $1, but only if I show up here. So I can get more aggressive and be confident that my additional bids or budget is only going to be directed to that specific search page. So I can spend more to rank on a specific search. There's sort of this undercurrent or unspoken thing in some of the Amazon ad community, like exact match is like somehow like it's better for ranking because of the match type or something, and like exact match holds this like magical thing in the algorithm to signal better for ranking. Like that's not true. Actually, you could massively scale a broad match campaign or an auto campaign, and as long as you're driving the same amount of traffic and orders through that broad match or auto, like it does help you rank. So it's not like there's anything that like less valuable about getting an order through one of those other match types. The issue is when it comes to how our budgets are being deployed. So in that exact same scenario, let's go to the extreme. Let's say auto campaigns, right? Let's say I have my close match targeting is, performing well, and that's where my search terms are, that one specific keyword I want to rank on. What happens when I take my 50-cent bid and put it at $1 bid? I don't just tell Amazon, hey, Amazon, I'm willing to spend $1 on this one specific search. All of a sudden, Amazon algorithm goes, oh, thank you very much for the $1 bid. I'm going to increase your payments on this keyword and this keyword and this keyword. And like the amount of targeting on places that you will show up at that higher cost are like in some ways exponential. So in that case, there is a distinct disadvantage to trying to rank products with, say, a broad match or an auto campaign, but it's not because there's some sort of like undervaluing of orders driven that. It's just like the amount of control you have over that is not great, to be honest. And like it's very possible, unlikely if you're getting a lot of orders, but like what happens if all of a sudden that auto campaign is like targeting that main keyword and you're like, great, I blocked everything off with the, negatives. I'm like forcing the algorithm, and then all of a sudden the algorithm like stops serving that one search term. Like you're kind of out of luck. So I would say, yes, it happens. Leave them in the existing campaigns to allow for lower cost orders. And then I still like focusing on an exact match, again, not because there's something more magical about those orders, but the amount of control I have over where my budgets are going to, if that makes sense. All right, looks like we got, oh goodness, we got more coming in. Okay, I'm going to try to get to all those. I just uploaded my Buckfoot auto tool. It's amazing. It only shows the UK marketplace, which represents 50% of sales for the account. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Ashley. Yeah. So you'll have to download an individual bulk pile per marketplace. I wish it worked on all of them. But yeah, so you'd have to, I would just copy that sheet and do one for each marketplace. I can get lower CPCs in the context of broad campaign compared to exact campaign and get easily ranking in broad keywords. Yeah, so if you are able to rank their broad keyword, I say more power to you. Go for it. Just be aware that those campaigns can be quite volatile. Volatile as in like they'll just target a bunch of different things. Like I wouldn't like to put all my ranking eggs in that basket. I can almost guarantee you at some point something is going to go very, very, very wrong. And then you're kind of out of luck. And then all of a sudden you got to spin up an exact match campaign and the performance isn't going to be good. I would want to have both. That's my take on it. Another supplement campaign with a high relevant keyword and exact match, the fixed bidding for 40% top of search and a bid of 10 to 15 cents below suggested. Performance swings a lot, great one day, poor the next, even though the placement, price, and listing stay the same. Why would conversion rate fluctuate this much, and how would you handle it? I would probably try and focus more on bids and less on top of search, would be my call. In our experience, I like to use top of search as a supplement or as like an additional boost on something that's already working. I don't like going super specific after that. Machino is saying thanks for the clarity. And we're getting thumbs up. Okay, awesome. So I appreciate it. It looks like I was able to get all the questions. So we got a couple last remaining. Maybe somebody can sneak in a question if you have one. Again, it sounds like everyone would find I'm actively working on I have to dig into my team, do some self-learning myself, and I will be putting out resources on AMC. So look for more information there. Ashley's saying you have a quick question. Feel free to drop it, Ashley. I'll wait for it. And then it sounds like some evaluations of SQP reports for ranking purposes would be very useful. So I believe I will work and put together some sort of custom GPT resource on that, which I think that would be really useful. Again, I'm working with a lot of like GPT resources. And so if anyone has anything that they find a little bit difficult when it comes to analytics of reports or anything, or anyone has any ideas, I am more than open to those things. And Ashley, I will wait for your question. Hopefully you'll drop it in the next couple of minutes. And I'll be able to get to that one. Mr. asking, can you drop the profit analytics sheet? So that's an internal tool. Again, I don't have a link to share with you directly, but if you go to our website, which is junglr.com, it's on the wall behind me actually, junglr.com, and you use this little, I'm not sharing. If you use this little question bot and say, hey, I would like to have the pricing SOP, we'll get that to you. No problem. All right, there's a new filter in the bulk file to download where you filter and enable the pause target. Should I only enable targets in the keyword auto? Ooh, good question. So I would use all targets. The reason why is that if you have paused something that has ad spend on it, like say something was underperforming and you used to be spending in it and you pause that, then I would want to know about that just to look at like all of the data possible. But if you want to look at like only what's happening right now, like, okay, I know I cleaned up stuff and I paused it, then in that case, you can select only the enabled. I really, really love that new option of filter. It's so helpful. So what we do is when we're if we ever download a bulk file to do optimizations on an account, we will always select to only the enabled targets because we're only ever going to make adjustments on stuff that's active. I'm not going to like adjust pause targets. So it like saves us a step in the filtering, which is really useful. But otherwise I would say I would default to all of them. There are some accounts where they just have a crap ton of targets. And so sometimes it's useful. Again, if you only want to look at what's active and audit those, I would look at that. I would just be aware that there is a very real likelihood where you might have some ad spend that's unaccounted for. So just be aware of that. And with that, it looks like we are at time. Again, I appreciate everyone. There were some fantastic questions. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic fall Prime Day. We're definitely gearing up for that. Look out for some playbooks around seasonality, and we're actively working on that. A lot of stuff. I want to get out a lot of resources to you guys. So by the way, if anyone has any resources or things, it sounds like AMC is very much top of mind, so I'll be putting out resources on that. But if there's anything, I kind of look for signals on what is going to be the most useful to the audience. So feel free to always drop a comment or a like on any of these videos, and I will get to that first. And with that, I will be back here, same time, same place, probably with many more resources to share you guys. And I hopefully will get you better answers to your Amazon ad questions. You can grow again without having to spend all of your profits on advertising. With that, I will catch you all in the next one. Thanks. And that wraps up this episode of the Ask Junglr Amazon Advertising Podcast. I hope you found these insights and strategies helpful in your Amazon PPC journey. Remember, if you have a burning Amazon ad question that you'd like answers to, head over to junglr.com/live to join our next live Q&A session. Until next time, keep optimizing those ads and stay hungry.